NJ.com and the Heldridge Hotel. Welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights. With your host, Steve Pikiell, and Rutgers insider Brian Fonseca. Let's start shopping.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rutgers Rant, a very special Rutgers Rant. I know I say that a lot, but this time I actually mean it. We have Steve Pikiell, head coach, Rutgers basketball, on this podcast, Brian, our podcast. How about that?
Look at us climbing up on the world.
Right.
We get our first coaching guest a couple weeks ago with Scott Goodale. Great interview. Steve Pikiell comes in here, and I think there'll be some battling in the APC to see who has higher view counts on YouTube between the two of them.
I think this is what happened. They saw how good he was, and they're like, well, I mean, clearly that changed the trajectory of his program entirely. And they're like, well, if he can go on the rant and do that, why can't we? Why can't we? So this is going to be a trend where we invite and believe me, if you're a coach of a Rutgers a team and you want to come on, we're here for you. We're here to help.
Always happy to talk Rutgers sports. Greg Schiano, I know he's busy during the season, maybe a little off-season spring camp action. Kelly Zinn, she's a podcast star already. Yep. William Tate has done every podcast under the sun and is a great guest. So the floor is open to any Rutgers person who wants to join us.
Right. And a good time to talk to Steve, because obviously the team's off to a 2-0 start. So we've seen some of it. We've got a sense of what this team's going to be this year. It's very early, 2 victories, 2-0 against 300 Ken Palm teams, and 3 more games like that before going to Vegas. So this is kind of an important building time. I'm sure he's in a good mood. Hope he's in a good mood. At least he's coming on to bat us around a little bit, which is possible. We're ready for it. That case, we got our questions here. What do you want to ask them? What do you want to ask the man?
Yeah, I think we'll kind of jump around. We'll ask him a little bit about his personal life. We'll talk a little bit about his 10 years at Rutgers. We'll talk about 10 years is kind of, it's nuts when you put it that way. We'll talk about the GM. This is the first time we've asked him about it since Rob Sullivan has officially joined. And we'll look at this year's team. I think, as you said, 2 games in, some idea. We'll see his take on what he's seen so far, what he wants to see going forward, and just kind of what he thinks is the future. If you have a program with 7 freshmen and 6 guys with more eligibility, is this a multi-year project? I think that's kind of the way Rutgers could be successful under him, given his success in the past in that formula.
Right. And I think as we should make it a tradition, every coach we have on will ask about Route 18 traffic and if they've stolen Greg Schiano's helicopter. Those are the 2 things that if you're planning to come on to this podcast, I mean, just be prepared. Those are the important questions.
Except for Greg Schiano, we will not ask him about the helicopter. I think he's talked enough about the helicopter.
That's fair enough. All right, take a quick break. We're going to just jump right in with Steve Pikiell when we get back. Very excited about this. So here is the head coach, Rutgers basketball team. All right, we are back with Steve Pikiell on our podcast. Coach, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you doing this.
You know what? I'm honored. Corso came to me and said, you want to do this? I said, not only do I want to do the Rutgers Rant, I want to change the name of this thing to Positivity Podcast. That's what I want to do. So
I think that's going to sell out there. You know enough about the world today. The Positivity Podcast is going to get the viewers we're lacking at this point. Yeah.
I know the rules, but I'm the second guy to coach Goody. Goody was the first guy.
He's the first Rutgers coach to come on. Yep.
Your budget's going up. Is that what happened?
That's exactly.
Going up? You're able
we spent half the show with Goody. We spent half the show with Goody talking about Route 18 traffic, though. So that's the topic you want to address about something in the roads of New Jersey. Please, this is clearly the forum to do it.
I love it. But no traffic issues here.
That's good.
Thank God. We'll start off with a question I asked Goody. Goody had a great story about using Greg Schiano's helicopter and kind of going up to him when everyone was kind of scared. Have you used Greg Schiano's helicopter yet? And just kind of what's your relationship with
where does he house this helicopter? Where does he house this? I needed to go home some nights, No, I haven't been lucky enough to my helicopter is the car I drive and I get places, but Goody, he's won national championships, so I'm not really at that stage. And, Coach Schiano's, got that helicopter probably on lockdown right now, especially he's got the bye week here. So he's flying around recruiting and stuff, but I haven't gotten to that level yet, but hopefully soon.
All right. So this is something we've also wondered. Now you've got to live on campus with the women's lacrosse team. What kind of sports dad are you? Do you go to these games and do you like stand on the sideline and make yourself known? Or are you like hiding in the last row of the bleachers? What kind of dad is Steve Pikiell?
You know what? It's an awesome, question, because the first thing was I talked to her yesterday. Okay. And I haven't seen her. Okay. She's right here on campus. And so I said, Liv, I saw you more at North Carolina than I did. I have a 7-minute commute now. And so I don't see her. She loves Rutgers. So I'm real happy with that. Like, she loves the school. She loves the lacrosse program. And, what I like about my kids, because I've been blessed. I had 3 kids. My daughter played basketball at Northwestern, Brooke. And then my son is at Sacred Heart University playing basketball, Division I. And now Olivia. And I love lacrosse because I sit in the stands. Nobody asks me any questions. I don't have to referee. I don't have, how come they're subbing this one in or that one in? Like, when I'm the basketball parent, I get all those questions, and I usually just want to go and watch my kids. I'm blessed that they play Division I. I'm blessed they play in high school and college. They've met great friends. And I just like to sit and just be a father and not talk about pick and rolls and not talk about what big guy we're bringing in. Because, basketball, everyone, big guy, big guy, big guy. I'm like, well, you got to have good little guys too. It's not just a big guy. It's nice to have big guys, but you got to have a little bit of everything. Some medium guys, some big guys, and some small guys. But I'd like to say my wife is a great parent and she gets into every game. She yells and screams. I don't really do that. And I just smile and I'm thankful.
Could you coach the lacrosse team if you were pressed into duty, like something happened? You know enough about lacrosse now you could do it?
No, I will tell you, I couldn't. I still get confused. It's like when I go watch field hockey, I have no idea what's going on in field hockey, no matter how much I watch it. And lacrosse, not really, because the men's side, they kill each other. The girls' side, the minute they hit somebody, they blow 12 whistles and give out yellow cards like, it's lemonade stand. So I really couldn't, coach that sport. And I really don't, want to coach one sport. But what I could do, I would be a great recruiter in women's lacrosse. I would be a great recruiter and don't know anything about it. Just going through what I went through with my daughter, I think I would hunt people down, parents. I would do an unbelievable job. So I didn't get that feeling in the recruiting process. And my daughter was highly recruited. Like I said, oh boy, I could teach some things to some of those recruiters, but that's about the extent of it. But I coach one sport, and that's hard enough.
Greg, when Greg Schiano came back, he said that having his sons go through the recruiting process and being the dad that's being recruited versus being the recruiter kind of changed his outlook. Did that change for you with Kevin getting recruited, Brooke and Livia? Did that change the way you kind of look at the recruiting process?
100%. It's like different eras too. Like I went through it with my daughter Brooke, and then now NIL has taken on a different phase with this thing that we didn't really have to deal with in the past. But I learned a lot of some of the schools, how they recruited her and how they went through the parents. Like I'm just always surprised. Like my wife has driven my daughter to every lacrosse game in the world, from Maryland on Memorial Day weekend to this and that. And I was just amazed at how few coaches call my wife. And I'm like, that would be the only phone call I would make. And she would get my daughter, but they, and I'm like, don't call her. Like, she doesn't know what kind of ice cream she wants on a Friday night, but call my wife, who's going to be an integral part of the decision. So, you always got to find the right people. But I would think, in some of those sports, the whoever's driving them to all those AAU events, that's the person I would get in their ear.
Absolutely.
All right.
Speaking of all the players you've had, now this is a question, Brian, I'm very curious about. If we took every player you've ever coached at Rutgers and put it in the same gym, and we were starting a pickup game, it's going to be your team against me and Brian. Who is your first pick out of all those players? Who do you want on your team? Not your best player, the guy you're like, all right, this is who I'm starting with.
Wow. I'll get in trouble, because it's like picking your favorite kid,
if you don't, we'll go first. Be careful.
I love them. I love them all. And there's a lot of them that I would have picked. I will tell you, the guy that grew the most from the first day that I coached him to the time that he left by far was Caleb McConnell. He grew the most into a Rutgers, like, and I even talked to him the other day, right before our first game, where he started and where he ended. And now he's, in the NBA and is playing in the G League. He's like right where he needs to be, and academically too. Like he went from wanting to fight school to like embracing it and getting his, so proud of him and the growth. But, there's a lot of guys. Ron Harper, late in games, I want the ball with him and, Gio. I mean, a defensive stop, it'd be, and then who better than to get to the rim than Dylan Harper, and, who was the most exciting guy. And he had 20 last night in the game, 20. Ace Bailey, who's the most exciting, and it's going to be a great pro. I know everyone has opinions. Oh, no. The guy's going to be great. Works, flat out works. Had 20 last night. Made it look easy too in the pros. So, a lot of guys. Now I've been blessed here 10 years, and that's obviously a long time. But I love a lot of them, and I love all of them, and I love the guys that didn't score as many points too or baskets. They came here, fought for me, and I'm real proud of that. Yeah. How about you guys? Who are you picking first?
If you're taking Caleb, I think we might have to take Dylan just to see that. That's the one matchup in Rutgers basketball history I would love to have seen. With those two guys going at it, that'd be fun.
I would like to see that too. Yeah. And Caleb as a fifth-year senior going up against Dylan as an 18-year-old freshman, like that's a good advantage for Caleb. But I like that one. Who else, Brian? Who are you taking, Brian?
Well, if Steve's taking Dylan, I'll take Ace. But there's a lot, like you said, Ron Harper would be a great choice. Ron Harper, his All-American year, would be a great choice. Miles Johnson to kind of anchor at center, maybe Cliff Amore if I'm trying to build a defensive base. A lot of options to go with.
Yeah. There are some, some interesting ones. Jacob Young was a ferocious competitor too. Like I would, like he was a worker. And I'll tell you, the guy that I loved, he was only here for 1 year, Akwazi Yeboah. Had every part of him was about Rutgers. And he just finished his master's degree. Nice. And that's 3 years after he left, 4 years after he left. And I'm so proud of him. He started that and finished it. And now he's playing professionally in France and doing really well. Plays on the national team for England and stuff. He's another guy, but he's only here 1 year. So, can't give him too much credit, but he was a great glue guy.
You mentioned the 10 years, Steve. I know it's again like picking your favorite kid. I get it, but is there a memory? Is there a moment that you think about during those 10 years that you are look back on most fondly or most proud of?
You know what? I don't really sit back and reflect, type of deal. But I will tell you, they told me this year, I was talking with a coach, and it was the funniest thing, and only you guys will appreciate it. They say every year you're at a place, you lose 10% of your support base. And so I'm starting year 10. So there you go. I got Corso over here. I got my wife. I got you guys, 10%. I said to the guy, did you know I was 10 years? Did you know this was my 10th year? Because they were talking about Buzz Williams and how he leaves every 5 years or 6 years, whatever they, And so he says, every year you lose 10% of your base. So I said, I still got my wife. She loves me and, that kind of thing. But, I go back to every year was like, the first year, every year has been hard. That first year was really hard. Like, I mean, like incredibly hard. No air conditioning in the gym. Like just that was just symbolic of what it was. The roster had flipped. I remember the first practice, we had a walk-on that I thought was our best player. I thought he outplayed Corey, Sonda, and I said, like, this is like, I thought the walk-on was, like our best player. And so, assembling a staff, trying to do something in this league for the first time, fan base, everything, trying to get people to come to games. I thought by far that was, the hardest year. I thought the year before COVID, that was my best. Like, that was a really good team. We won 20 games. We beat Purdue on senior night. Purdue had to have that win. And then, the NCAA tournament, we shut everything down. I think Fred Hoiberg was coughing up, one of his lungs and, one of the Big Ten games. And next thing you know, the whole tournament was like, done. That was a really gratifying year, but it was such a hard year because we finally got to the NCAA tournament, and then they took it away, from us. And, that was like, we were really gelled. We got better as a team. We had the right guys. Ron was at that level. Gio was at that level. Miles Johnson could block shots with anybody. We really kind of, Paul Mulcahy figured it out. So like, I really enjoyed that year, but I've enjoyed, believe it or not, guys, like every year is this, you have your wins and you have your losses, obviously. And everyone talks about the losses more than the wins, and that's how it is. But like, I love the challenge of every season, and this is the best league in the country. And everyone will say whatever they want. It's the hardest league to go on the road and win in, that's for sure. No one can debate that. But, I like parts of, every year, and I like the challenges every year brings.
So looking at that 10-year span, we've talked about the program, we've talked about college sports evolving. How have you evolved as a coach on the court, the way you view the game? Is there anything that's different about year 1 Steve Pikiell to year 10 Steve Pikiell, just as far as how you view the game offensively, defensively?
Everything, college athletics has changed upside down last 5 years. I mean, to not have guys like I think you could see with my team this year, the guys that have stayed here have gotten better. Jermichael Davis, if you don't see it, like, let me just put on a freshman tape. And then same thing with Dylan Grant from last year. Dylan Grant didn't check into a game last year, 10 games into the season. And now he has a double-double. He has 17 and 7 the other day. And he could do more. But, like, guys, Emmanuel's just better. You could say what you want. Pick and roll defense, he's elite. He's just better. He grabs 10 rebounds the other night. So that's changed a lot. I used to take guys and redshirt them and plan for the future with them. They'll stick with us. When you're scholarship for scholarship, maybe it's a little bit easier. Now that you've changed a lot of things, you can transfer whenever you want. You got NIL, you got like a lot of different things. So it's changed. The basketball really hasn't. Kids still want to be coached. Kids want to play more now, and they want to make more money. That was never the case before. I'm sure they wanted to make more money back then, but the rules weren't that. You're still expectations in reality. Like, that's what I do all the time. The expectations for all the kids are play 40 minutes and take every shot. And then the reality is you're not going to play 40 minutes. You're not going to take every shot. Now you got an expectation for money too. And the reality is, like, this isn't the Bank of America. I don't have that kind of, so the reality and expectations, of your fan base changes too, because no longer like the NCAA tournament, nobody, we got to get there. Like, nobody cares, you got to get there. Before, they were happy the first time we went. Now we got to get back, and I understand that, and I love those expectations. And so some things have changed completely, and I'm thankful we, have an athletic director now. I mean, I've had more meetings, and she's into it and into what college athletics is today. And I think that's a big blessing that has come in the past. But basketball is still basketball. You got to take good shots. You got to be in stances. You got to have 7 different screen coverages that you got to be good at. You got to stay healthy. Obviously, you got to bring your young guys along if they're not ready yet. If they're ready, you got to throw them to the wolves. And then you got to manage all the things around them, which is a lot. There's a lot now, a lot more people around them now. The phone is part of what I fight on a daily basis too. The phone tells them how they feel, and the phone, so those things have kind of changed and become more, but athletics has changed too. College athletics has changed, as you guys know.
Steve, you mentioned the NCAA tournament, and I loved it at media day when you struck what I would describe as kind of a defiant tone. I asked you about getting back to the NCAA tournament, and you didn't do it last year with Dylan and Ace. How are you going to do it this year? And I loved your answers. You're like, well, I did it before. I did it before Dylan and Ace. We're going to do it again. And I wonder if that's part of how you're wired. Do you feed off the idea that there are people who are looking at this and saying, forget it, they're not going to make. Are you motivated?
You know what I love though? One thing I love, and I love Rutgers people, and I love the doubters. It's just the way, every job I've taken, that's been what it is. And the one thing when I did take this job, I knew there was a lot, even when I first, they're not going to get back to the NCAA tournament. They're not going to, well, there's no excuses. It doesn't matter. I don't know that now. Nobody cares about NIL. Nobody cares about, and I'm great with that. We got to find a way to get back to the NCAA tournament, just like we did. That's what I expect. That's what our fan base expects. That's what you guys expect. Is it easy? No, like almost 300 teams aren't going to go. And some of those 300 teams are really good, and they're not going to go to the NCAA tournament. It's not a birthright. You got to earn it. You got to earn it on the court. You got to earn it by, your team being together. And just because you get two great players doesn't mean every team in our league has two great players. Doesn't mean you're going or not going. You got to have the right chemistry. You got to get them to overachieve. And, those are some of the challenges. But like when people say that, like, yeah, you're right. We haven't gone, and I'm as disappointed as any, because that's the goal that starts every season. But I also know how hard that goal is. I haven't taken those jobs that 20 straight years you go to the NCAA tournament, and I was at UConn when it wasn't like that at UConn. Now every year they're in the NCAA tournament. It wasn't like that when I took that job. So I've had a lot of experience at places like this that, we got to figure it out. We got to earn it. And, when you ask me that question, like just because I had those two guys, everyone said, oh, you're going to be wait a minute. You got to play the games. You got to stay healthy. You got to have young guys play like old guys. There's a lot into it. By the way, the other team's trying to make sure you don't go to the NCAA tournament. So those other teams, and then you got referees too that can blow a whistle here and there. And then you got concussion protocol, and you got COVID, and you got all these other things that are trying to get in the way of you achieving your dreams too. So the obstacles are many, but I look forward to getting us back. And I think, we got to get better, and we got to, do a lot of things. We're working in the dark here this year, which I love. And the guys are, willing workers, but we got to play well. And I think we'll be able to, get better throughout the year. I think we got enough tools. Now I got to plug them in at the right time and that kind of thing. And with our great fan base, we got to make the RAC a real hard place to play. And I will tell you this too, Steve, like it's time we bring back the Steve Pikiell fathead. Like, what is going on at Jersey Mike's? We got to bring it back, and we got to bring that back. That was front and center. Missing. That's right. What's front. Fonseca doesn't have one of those. Yeah. He don't have one of those.
No, not yet.
We got to get this back, because that's what the students got to get going. And that was unbelievable time in our gym. And we got to get that thing going.
It all went to hell when that's it. We figured it out, Steve. I wish we had known this sooner. We could have. Yeah, it's a shame.
That was the secret sauce. Let's get that thing rolling.
Sauce is right there.
Hey, at the next game, yeah.
The problem is my fat head is so big and bald. It looks like a lot of other bald people. That's like if you look at it right. That's what I'm about to say. Like, why is there it looks like Steve Pikiell up there? It could do that too, right?
A lot more hair 10 years ago, Steve. You're right. A lot more hair. But we'll get that back up there, because we got to get that cranked up.
Before I have a question about this year's team, but before you mentioned the phones, and it just reminded me, what happened? You broke your phone in the locker room at the Big Ten tournament a couple of years ago. A, can you please tell us a little bit more stories about details about that story? And B, how quickly did you get another phone, or did you use that broken phone?
It's kind of interesting because, a lot of times. What they spend their most time on is the thing that's least important to winning basketball games and preparing for basketball games. And some guys can manage their phones a little bit. Others are just stalking the things. So I always have my seminar every year saying, like, it's not helping you be a better rebounder. It's not helping you shoot the ball better. It's not helping you defend the ball better. It's actually not making you like a better athlete, and it's really taken away from your sleep time, your focus time and your recovery time and that kind of thing. So before the tournament that year, like the guys how their moods were based on what the phone was saying about them. And I used to remember a guy coming in, hey, coach, they're killing me. And I say, who's killing you? And he said, this guy, I'm like, Corey, like, that's a Seton Hall guy. Do you think he's going to tell you you're a great player? Like, you're letting that one comment, but again, remember, these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, the phone. And before they get to Rutgers, all they hear is great things because the only people following them are their friends and family. So it's like a big bouquet their senior year and all that stuff. Then they accept all these followers from everywhere who are fans of Purdue and of Michigan. And I'm saying, like, and then they start saying, like, you can't make a shot, you're a bum. And they like, coach, what is going on? Like, he said, like, put the phone down. So before that tournament, I had to make a real point, and that was my phone. And I'm like, and actually it was very peaceful for me. It was kind of like it was really peaceful. No one could get a hold of me or anything like that. So I just smashed the phone, and luckily Scott got me another one, my assistant, who's awesome. And, but they were like, because I showed them the thing and I said, you guys are spending too much. How about if we focus on the Big Ten tournament? How about if we focus on just basketball this week? Who cares what the phone is telling you? You know what I mean? Like do that. And I think it worked for about 5 minutes. I think they had like 2 good days, but then they went back to stalking their phones and stuff. But
if you had smashed their phones,
I can't win, Brian. I can't win.
If you put all of their phones in a bag and smashed them, what would have happened?
Hey, I tried that once. I took it one day from before a shoot around.
Yeah.
And then for the next like 3 weeks, we had recruits come in, like a couple recruits came in, and they said, oh, coach, I heard you took their phones. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. If that word ever got out that I was taking their phones, Steve, talk about not getting a guy. I wouldn't get one recruit. So I said, no, I only took it for the shoot around. Like, and then after the shoot around, we gave it back. But once words started circulating like that, Steve, I was real nervous. I said, if that ever gets out, I'll never get a kid to come here. So that's my take your phone story.
Did you smash the phone with a hammer? Did you smash it in front of them?
No, I think I think I just threw it down, right? I think I just like smashed it like that way. Like I came in, I wanted to get their attention. And the one thing that got their attention, because they're all like, oh, that's a lot of money if they did it themselves. Coach Pikiell, yeah. So like, yeah, but that was, and I do think it worked for a day or two, but like then they're right back on their phones. Yeah.
It's hard to get off them. I'm a little older than them, but I'm the same way. I'm always on my phone too. But no one's calling. Not as many people are calling me a bum. Some people are, but not that many.
A lot of them call me. I'll give you experience. If you call me, I'll fill you in. It's all good. I love them. I said, support Rutgers. I appreciate you taking the time. Whether you're saying good things or bad things, you're taking the time. I appreciate it.
Sure. So on this year's team, on the we've talked about the transfer portal, guys spending a lot of times 1 year at a school and leaving, but you have 7 freshmen and you have 6 other guys with eligibility after this year. Are you looking at this as kind of a multi-year project where if you could hang on to these guys beyond this year and develop them, it's kind of like the old days where you had success in developing guys year over year?
The good part, like this year's team, the entire team has eligibility moving forward. So we don't have one guy that's out of eligibility. So, I hope, we retained Dylan Grant and that was big for us last year. We retained and Kelly's come in here and you guys have known, you've already written a bunch of articles. Like she is into the modern world of college athletics. So I'm so excited that she's here and she's hired a team of people because that has more to do with retention than Steve Pikiell. Like I want all those guys to stay. I want them to stay and get better, just like Caleb McConnell did, just like Ron Harper Jr. did, just like Dylan Harper got better here. Just like all those guys, even though they were here for 6 months, Ace got better. He gained weight. He got better in some, So, I think that's an important part of continuing to build your program because otherwise, the way it's currently set up is every year you're building a new team. Like it's really hard to do, and a lot of us are doing it that way. And it's a hard thing. And I'm lucky I got 4 guys that have been through a season before with my young guys now and with my portal guys. But the biggest part of the portal is having the resources to retain people. I don't think any of those guys would have left in the past if we had the resources to keep them. I really don't. I think they all loved it here. They all come back now. I talk to every single one of them. There's not one guy I don't talk to that has left here. And I'm proud of that because no matter how long they stay or how short a time they stay, they swung punches while they were here for Rutgers basketball. And I'm proud of them. And I help. I try to help all of them in any way that I can. So, the resources are a big part of your retention. And now we have a GM now. We got a guy in charge of sponsorship. We got a contract person. Kelly is just unbelievable. So I feel really good. It's like a way to, off my shoulder with support around what we're trying to do. So hopefully these guys have a really good year, and then we have the resources, to retain them and continue to graduate kids and continue to do the thing, make players better, graduate kids. I do still believe in that stuff. I think that's what college athletics is all about, even though it's gotten a little lost in the last few years.
You mentioned GM Rob Sullivan coming in. How much say is he going to have in basketball decisions, roster construction, or is it strictly a financial fundraising, other part of that contract thing?
I mean, a big part of it, Steve, is that you got to raise money. That's a big part of it. I mean, he's a really good basketball guy. What I love about him is he won the job. I love that. He's coming from a place that did more with less. He's the women's and the men's, and Coquise loved him. I loved him. But he's a basketball guy, but he raised money in a tough place to raise money. And, I'm really excited about him having conversations with people during the season. It's real hard to have these conversations. You're coaching guys. You're trying to beat Lehigh. You're trying to beat Tennessee. You're trying to beat Michigan. He'll be having those conversations. He'll be talking to people, but most importantly, he's going to help us in the resource department. And I think that's where we've needed the most, work. It's very easy to punch up on your computer who's sexy in the portal and who's got all the analytics. But it's can you have the resources to get those people? Those phone calls, are pretty easy. Like if you have the resources, it doesn't take. I mean, what a good player looks like. I know what a good player looks like. I had guys score 35 points against us, and I'm like, that's a pretty good player. And I watched all the film on them. But if they go in the portal and you can't shop at that, designer shop, then you could do all the analytics or have it whatever you want. You're probably not going to be able to purchase that, product.
Well, let me follow up on that because I'm curious. Because I don't. Is there a day you think that Rutgers will be able to shop in those designer areas, the top level? And if not, do you need to use the analytics and use the other stuff to make sure you can identify the guys who are on the bargain bin, so to speak? Or is Rutgers going to get to the point where they can? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that are sexy in the analytics are usually the guys that cost the most. I mean, it's really it's not like a hard game, and you guys can make it. It was like when Cliff came in and he says he's got to leave, and the number he was looking for, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not the Bank of America. I love you, but his analytics was pretty good, So, the analytics is one thing. I mean, the computer AI can tell you what to do, but you got to have the resources, and she's working diligently, like I said, and that's a big part of this. And going through the GM process too, I was meeting with a lot of people, and boy, some of the creative ways that people were attacking this space, Steve, was unbelievable. Like you could write a story on what deferred payments to housing to, it was like, oh my God, this is what's going on. So, and I learned a lot from a lot of different people as we were interviewing for this space, and I'm excited, now that we have some ideas like that, rolling forward. And again, Kelly's done a really good job. She's hired, I think, 5 people already in a short period of time that are all involved in resourcing. So I am excited about that. I do think we got a great product. We're a great school. We're in a great league. We've produced pros. We've gotten lottery picks as much as, we've gotten guys that were 2 stars in the NBA, 3 stars like that grew and got better. And we got a host of guys over in Europe, and every single guy has graduated from here. Guys come back every summer. So we have a lot of, really great things to sell. And I think she's going to put us in a place too, where, we can go out and we can get involved with the same guys the rest of the league's getting involved with. And that would be really, really exciting to me.
one last analytic question, mostly a joke, but has your opinion on Ken Pom changed, or are you still has he not gotten a rebound yet?
He wins every game. I love that Ken Pom. I want him in the portal. I want Ken Pom in the portal. Let's go. Let's see if we have the resources. He gets everything right. You guys, I think you think I don't like analytics, but like I do, and I have staff members that's all they do is come to me with like statistics and all that, and so like I really do like that, and I like where our defense is. I like we're 75 points a game, not where I want to be. I like our 3-point percentage. I don't like our free throw percentage, but it doesn't take Ken Pom to tell me we got to make more free throws. But I really do, and I look at analytics, I read analytics, but at the end of the day, you got to go and beat Purdue, okay? And they got an analytics. It's called the best point guard in the country, and then they always have a 7'11" guy. Steve, I don't know where they grow him in Purdue, but 7'11" skyscraper. They got one of those guys, and analytics can't help you, with that guy if you don't have a 7'11" guy that can front him in the post. So you still have to do the work. And I tell that to our players all the time. Like, your analytics will go up as your work goes up. Like, you'll become a better 3-point shooter if you take better shots. And if you work at being a great shooter. And I appreciate you being at practice the other day. And you do see how hard our guys work. And that was really not a great it was after a game practice and, more of a mental and film day and stuff like that. But analytics sometimes can't tell you, where the kids are or where their minds are. Like, that's more of, you got to get their minds in the right places. And, some are homesick, some are feeling sorry for themselves. Some didn't play as much as they would like. And you got to really do some of that. And Ken Pom doesn't help me with that, especially early in the year, but he's great. And I want to recruit him in the portal. So let's go.
Steve, I think I agree with Brian on this I agree with you on this point about the analytics, that you don't need it for a lot of eye tests. And I wonder, just watching your first 2 games, if your centers pass the eye test. Forget analytics. It's just a big concern for me. Byfall's not getting on the court. Boley doesn't seem to be getting better. Do you think this position is good enough to win in the Big Ten with what you have there?
And we got to it's not just that position. You guys will focus on, one position or the other. I'm not in love with any of our positions right now. So let's just put that out there and stuff. We defend at the 5 spot way better than we have in the past. I do think we have 4 options, all different. And Javonte Ware today, he was our best center. He's a freshman. He's got to wait and he's figuring some stuff out. Bai hasn't played in a couple of years. He's talented shot blocker. And Emmanuel, I get you guys, like, the other day he was 0 for 5. So that's an 0 for 5 game. He had 10 rebounds in the game. No one mentioned that. 10 rebounds. And his screen coverage is elite level. And not just by me. That's NBA people saying how he guards screen coverage. And we have 7 different screen coverages that he's got to know. And he's a part of between 20 and 30 pick and rolls a game. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're really good in those areas, like, they don't show up because they're not as sexy. It's like having one of those catchers that's great behind the plate, but maybe he's not hitting home runs, where he's hitting for 259, but he's so important to your team winning. And I really believe, too, Emmanuel's getting better. Like, you saw him, he scored in the last game. He scored. He's going to get better. He's going to get better. And he has. Now, he's been injured for 2 years, too, and he's young in his basketball. And so I hope he'll continue to grow with that. Same thing with Bai and same thing with those. But we got to get better at every position. If you focus, on that position, I say, all right, who are the big guys throughout the league? And we have 4 of them too. So we got a lot of fouls in that position. They're all different, which I kind of like. We've never had that much depth. And I will tell you, Bryce Dortch has been really solid for me. 8 rebounds. He doesn't make mistakes now. He's not going to score 20 points, but he's and he can switch on a lot of guys. I can also play June, who's a moose. I call him a half a rhino at times. Like, he can, and Darren Buchanan Jr., he can hit people. And he actually says to me, Coach, that's all I did the last 2 years was guard 5s. So I actually like to wrestle with 5. So, we got some options at that spot, but we have to get better at every spot. So, and I worry about everything at this time of the season. Like, It's not like you guys are. No, I worry about everything, and I worry about where their minds are. I worry about, are we ready for, the next game? Now we're playing Lehigh, and Lehigh has 12 returning players, the second most returning players in the country. Isn't that an unbelievable stat, Steve? Like
these days, it certainly is.
Only one other team in the country has more returning players. Like, it's just a bizarre. Like, everyone used to have 10 returning guys every year, type of deal. So, worry about every game and getting a little bit better. We did get better in some areas the other night. Like, we rebounded better. We didn't rebound the first night. We're shooting the ball at a high level, which I like. We got to get better at free throws because, this group should be a 75 to 77% free throw shooting team. We're not. Was it jitters? Are they nervous? First time out? Like, I don't know those things. We make free throws in practice. They all have pretty strong percentages for the most part. Our defense is better, but it's nowhere near where I want it to be. Some guys have picked it up quickly. Other guys are going to take a little bit more. But I think we could do some things, versatility wise with these guys, but we got to, keep getting better. And that's a big part of what I have to do, with this team.
I have a couple of quick ones on this team, and I don't know if Steve has any more, but so when you get to the end of this first 5-game stretch before you go to Las Vegas, what are you hoping to see in this team? What are one or two areas where you really are hoping to see this team take a step, or just kind of areas you want to solidify before Vegas?
I mean, consistency, like we didn't rebound the first night. Like, and I don't know why. We've been talking about it since June. Like, so now we rebounded the other night, and now can we consistently rebound? We've been consistently making threes. That's a good part. We got a lot of different guys that can make threes. I think that's an advantage of this team. Because I think Dennis can step out and make threes. Haroon can make threes. And Reek has been our best three-point shooter. And DG, Dylan Grant, can make threes. Like, we got, and Caden Powers can really make threes. Can he catch up defensively? And because he can really shoot the ball too. But we just got to get better with urgency. I got to get the rotation down too. Like, I got to find out, Chris Woolley is a good player. He's a good athlete. I got to get him comfortable on the court because he can do some things. He'll help us rebounding wise. He's our second best shot blocker. I like Darren Buchanan Jr., who's a unique dude. He can go downhill. He could shoot. He got a little bully in him. He's an assist guy. He led us an assist the other night. He could score in the low post. Like, he can defend multiple positions. So, got to just keep figuring them out. It doesn't happen overnight. You got 10 new guys. So I'm just excited about that. Can these guys just, get better? Can our defense get up? We had 10 minutes the other night that we looked like we were going to hold them to 12 points for the half. It was 10-minute mark. It was 22-6. And the two shots they made were the toughest twos you could take. So they really had 2 points against us in 10 minutes. And then the next 5 minutes, we gave up 17. You know what I mean? So can we maintain what we're doing? Can we maintain it with subs? Can we get back to being a speed limit, 55 and under? And can we get to 70? We got 81 and we got 70 the other night. You know what I mean? Can we get to, 80? Can we get to that consistently? And if we make free throws, I know we can do that. But we got to get better from, the foul line too. But I don't know any coach in the country that's telling you after 2 games that they're happy. And if they do, they're not telling you the truth, the whole truth and nothing but. So do I get my one question?
Yes,
now?
go on. I want to hear it. Absolutely. What do you got?
Great question. And my wife asks this to me all the time. So
oh boy.
Now I'm the media asking you guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every time there's a picture of me, I am angry. I am just, you guys always take pictures of me. Just, if we win a game, I'm angry, picture. If we lose a game, I'm angry, picture. If you're talking about the GM, I'm angry. Like, does NJ.com, do they just have an angry picture? And how do I get a happy picture file somehow, so we can change this up once in a while?
All right, here you go. All right, just going to get you to smile right now. Hang on. Okay, we're going to use it. All right, got it. There you go. But it's next to Fonseca, which is we know you're putting on a fake smile if you're sitting even next to Fonseca. That's perfect.
Hey, he's going to get a fat head soon. He's not at your level yet. He's going to get one, though. He deserves it. He's a hard worker, and he came to practice the other day, which I appreciate. But we got to get the angry fight. Just one happy, because I am happy. I am happy once in a while. It looks like every picture you take is when I'm yelling at a referee, and I'm like,
on the sidelines, though, you do get some. You might have noticed. Someone might have told you in your family you get kind of demonstrative on the sidelines. I'm sure some people have mentioned this to you, right?
I'm going to try to do a better job. If you got one thing to offer me, I got to probably do a better. I got to smile more. Would that be the case?
You got to find Andy Mills on the baseline and give him a quick thumbs up and smile between every half. And he'll snap a few photos.
I'm gonna have to find out maybe I'll get him a fat head, and then he'll take some pictures of me to the positive. I'm gonna work on that. But no, that's my only question. I wanted to just ask you that, and then we're changing the rant to Positivity Podcast.
How about that? That's good branding. That sounds like something of an SNL skit, but I like it.
Steve, you get no clicks. You'll get no clicks for that one now. If you put that as your title.
No. Positively, they're gonna think that. Yeah, they're gonna think that's a different podcast entirely. I'm afraid. Yeah.
Hey, Chris Newley hey, Chris, you want to get famous here? Hey, Chris. Come on. Because I was just telling you guys that he's gonna be a great rebounder. Isn't that what I said? Just smile. Look at how good looking this guy's. And hey, by the way. He's a Las Vegas guy, so
going home.
He's going to be going home. He's going to be going home. So, what restaurant do they go to?
I'll tell you. Go to my uncle's spot, Texas Barbecue Wagon.
All right. Hey, see if NJ.com gives you the budget to take care of that. Thank you.
Right.
We'll see how many ribs we can order. I'll order as many as I can.
Fonseca spent our budget on the blackjack table last year, so.
Yeah. I always got into doing it, and he's one of the great kids too. You should have him on your podcast one time. Fun.
Okay, love it. Absolutely. Really I tell you one thing. You got some good talkers on the team. We have never gone dry with quotes covering the Rutgers basketball team. You guys, and I won't say it's the same as some other programs sometimes, but you guys are.
Well, we'll tell you too. Like they're great kids, and there's some great stories. And he's here now, so we did 3.5 hours today. Like we did a lot today. And he's got class tonight, but he is here to watch film of his minutes. And like, there's a lot that goes into it. And I'm proud of him. And it's not easy. You're a freshman. You're away from home. You go through your first games and you probably didn't play exactly the way you'd like to play. But he's here, had a great practice today. And now he's going to watch film and try to get better. And I think that's some of the things that you don't see sometimes from the outside. And, but just, great kids. And we got a lot of those stories. We got some funny kids and, they work hard. So
great. Well, we'll let you get back to work, Coach. Can't thank you enough for doing this. I hope you had a great time. You went longer than Goodale did. This was a lot of fun for the two of us.
I'm going to tell Goody that the ratings went off the roof for me. This guy, they didn't care about the traffic. They didn't care about the traffic, Goody. Kind of ratings went way down. I appreciate you guys. All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel. Head to nj.com/Rutgers for more Scarlet Knight content.